Daniel Penny has been found not guilty of murdering a homeless black man, and it might be the death knell for BLM. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. As you probably know by now, Marine veteran Daniel Penny was found not guilty in the chokehold death of Jordan Neely. So in court, Penny was found not guilty. But in the court of public opinion, they were judged not by the content of their character, but by the color of their skin.
No justice! No peace!
Police! He was killed for being poor!
They don't give a goddamn about us!
That's why they don't get no justice! They don't get no peace!
You fucking pig! That's our city's problem!
That is sick!
And BLM of Greater New York had this to say.
They will not find a white man guilty of killing a black man in modern day America. This is no different than Jim Crow.
Racism is still alive and kicking in America.
America hates black people.
White supremacy got another victory. Today, the KKK, the Klansmen, the evil in America got another victory.
And in particular, BLM of Greater New York is calling for another summer of love.
Are we gonna riot? Are we gonna protest? Is that what's needed? Do glass have to break? Do cars have to burn for a black man to get justice in America?
We need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
I think they're taking the verdict well. Unfortunately for BLM, it's not 2020 anymore. Massive protests erupted in the wake of the death of George Floyd at the hands of a white police officer. Look, I get it. BLM made a lot of money after George Floyd's death, about $60 million of which just kind of disappeared. But this is not 2020, and Neely is not George Floyd. Neely was a 30-year-old homeless man who was struggling with drug addiction and mental health issues. He also had quite the criminal history, with 42 arrests that included 3 unprovoked assaults on women in the subway. Okay, so far that sounds a lot like George Floyd. But it was how Neely died that was very different. Neely was on a New York subway, shouting and threatening to kill people until Daniel Penny, a Marine veteran, put him in a chokehold. Many on that subway car called Penny a hero. In fact, in the footage, you can see a black man helping Penny. A black woman who was there defended Penny in court. There's no indication race played any part in this. But the state put Penny on trial for second-degree manslaughter and negligent homicide. And some weird things happened. The jury was deadlocked on the manslaughter charge, so the judge and prosecution decided to dismiss it. Penny's defense did not want that, but the judge did it anyway. The judge and the prosecutor may have assumed the jury would then vote guilty on the lesser negligent homicide charge, giving the prosecution a win. But then the jury actually voted not guilty instead. Yes, there were some protests, but it's a far cry from what happened in 2020. In the aftermath of nationwide protests, activists called for defunding the police and other social justice policies. 4 years later, we've seen the effect of those policies. As policing has gone down, crime has gone up, and people aren't happy. Even the New York Times says defund the police failed. But there are still a lot of social justice policies that have been put in place over the last 4 years. And sadly, some of these policies may have contributed to Jordan Neely falling through the cracks. You see, Neely had an open arrest warrant. He had been in prison for punching an elderly woman and breaking bones in her face, but in February, he was released into a residential treatment program. It was under a plea deal that required him to avoid trouble for 15 months, stay on antipsychotic medication, and not abuse drugs. 2 weeks later, Neely walked out of the treatment program, which led to the arrest warrant. When the city's homeless outreach workers found Neely on the subway 2 months later, he was aggressive and incoherent. The workers noted that Neely could harm himself or others if left untreated. They called the police, who removed him from the subway. But why didn't the police actually arrest Neely? They didn't know he had an open warrant. The police used to do warrant checks on people violating subway rules, but that was abandoned during the pandemic after criticism that it was criminalizing homelessness. Now, I don't know if Neely being arrested would have been the best solution, but at least he could have gotten treatment. Instead, the social justice policy meant that Neely wandered the streets psychotic and high until he died just 3 weeks later. Now, after Daniel Penny was found not guilty in Neely's death, many on the right are celebrating the end of BLM and the wider social justice movement. They say the verdict shows the BLM era of restorative justice is over and the real spirit of justice is returning to America. But BLM isn't over just because thousands aren't marching in the streets anymore. Social justice policies remain deeply embedded across America. And as Jordan Neely's case shows, they can sometimes hurt the people they're supposed to help. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg was the prosecutor who decided to charge Daniel Penny for Neely's death. He ran for office promising not to prosecute certain crimes in the name of racial equity. And crime has increased substantially since he's been in office. Still, Bragg is probably getting reelected next year, because so far, no Democrat has challenged him in the primary. And New York City hasn't elected a Republican DA since 1938. The Daniel Penny case is not the end of BLM. BLM and other social justice ideologies will remain until officials stop using things like racial equity to measure crime, or at least until people vote out the officials who do. Before YouTube kicks you to a random video, click on this episode I know you're going to love. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.